Hi, I'm Keegan, and this is A Bunch of Gamers. This is Werewolf the Apocalypse, episode 74.5, Rite of the Striders. I am joined with Zeb, who has stayed behind while the rest of the packs went to investigate Carson Faces the Storm. We rewind the clock to September the 24th. The Strider moot has ended, and you awaken, Zeb, with the only Strider left now, Winds-Fickle-Step, as even your pack has left, and ride with Eleanor back to Colorado Springs.
All right, yeah, we'll get up and kind of stretch.
Another morning upon us, my friend.
The sun is so very warm. Face it for me. Take it in. I wish it to warm our body.
I'll stand, arms outstretched, breathing in, enjoying that warmth for a moment, for it.
Winds-Fickle-Step comes up, noticing. Enjoying the heat, I see.
I am indeed, and for my companion, I told them that I would allow them to experience as much as they could among the living, as our kin. They remind me of maybe parts of the wolf that I sometimes forget or put aside in the pursuit of other things.
I see. I somewhat understand, though, since I wear this form when it is not the form of my birth. Shall we get started, then?
We shall.
Take your foreleg form, and we shall run together. We'll have to capture a small animal. Remember to capture with your jaws. Do not kill it.
Understood.
And I will shift to Lupus.
You shift to Lupus, and you begin running with her as you and Winds-Fickle-Step move through the desert. It's still cool. The little bits of mist still hanging as the sun radiates and begins to scorch them away. You see a rabbit and you chase after it as you hear Mists of the Forgotten in the back of your head. Give chase, brother. Give chase.
Now you shall experience the hunt.
Could I get Dexterity Primal Urge, difficulty 5, please? You capture the rabbit in your jaws as you get a little taste of blood, and it radiates through Mists of the Forgotten as you hear the spirit going, Take another bite. Please, this sensation.
We must be patient, but the first tithe is for you, as you are the eldest among us.
And I'll just lick a little bit with my tongue to Keegan, very lightly, just for a little bit more blood. But I won't like bite into it, knowing that we have to save this rabbit.
All right, could you roll willpower for me, please?
I sure can. All right, difficulty.
We're gonna go with 6, and then I'm gonna roll his. All right, they got 9.
This dude's gonna dominate me. Here we go.
Oh, sensation.
Yeah, I fucking do it too.
The sensation is too great for you to resist as your teeth crunch into the rabbit as it gives off a squeal and you just start feasting. Winds-Fickle-Step arrives, noticing what you've done. She shakes her head and gruffly asks, Ignored Wolfheart too long?
Yes. The mistake of the apes. I will get another teacher.
Search. So now I need a Perception Primal Urge, difficulty 7, given the more desert-like environment and that it's getting warmer.
Okay. Does the perception difficulty for Lupus count here, or are you modifying that number?
I'm modifying that already.
Oh Christ. Okay.
The one-eyed wolf searched for food in the desert.
All right. You do find another one as you find the burrow. You're gonna have to do now a Dexterity Primal Urge roll, difficulty 6 to dig it up without it getting away. As you grab a hold of it, you hear the spirit in the back of your mind. It was a good meal. I see why they're so prized.
They are. They are vital, and we are thankful for what they give us. And I am glad you could be sustained.
Winds-Fickle-Step shifts into her Hamid form and takes the rabbit from your jaws. And she goes, Come, you may take your 2-leg form now.
All right, shift back to Hamid.
As the rabbit struggles, she grabs a stone that is sharp and slices it down the center, killing it. As she opens it up and spreads the blood into some of the dust and the dirt and mixes it into a fine sort of mud that she takes up and begins to paint upon the rocks and upon herself as she creates ancient symbols to be odes to the river of death, the river Styx, the great Nile, ancient symbols of Anubis in the Garu tongue, who is said to be a grand ancestor of your tribe, as she begins to chant and telling the stories of your people, the story of the wolves that went silent, the story of the wind that howled in quiet, the story of the Black Sea that went still, and the storms from beyond the shroud, as she talks at length about how the world of death never existed before the binding of the worm, for all was in perfect harmony, and spirits simply returned to Gaia to be reused, and how that has changed, and why it is up to the Silent Striders to tread the roads of death to seek it. The rite takes a total of about 10 minutes. As the gauntlet is thin here, she opens as you see the gauntlet seem to warp slightly and grow dark. As she goes, it is time to step through.
Very well. I seek to know death and know its domain.
He will step through.
As you pass through, you see the body of the rabbit now even more decayed the second you pass over. This whole place looks very similar. The only difference is that the sun seems duller yet hotter. The sand less inviting. The river is but a trickle here, and the cacti have little bits of rot gnawing upon them. The sky seems gray, and the wind stops. Welcome to the lands of Duat.
This is the feeling of nothingness.
Oh no, that's further in. I've never traveled very far, but it is said by our ancient legends that one known as Seeks the Horizon wandered this realm so far that he ended up on the shores of a great black sea with a great maelstrom off in the distance, with ghosts in reed ships carrying their own kind, but ignoring him, claiming that it was not his time, and perhaps it never would be.
I'm shocked to know of the ferrymen, should they truly exist. What becomes of our sacrifice?
The sacrifice is gone. Blood for blood. We must use the blood of that animal to create but a small hole, to which we can use our own gnosis to tear past the second veil.
I know we normally give thanks for the sacrifice. Do we do the same here? Or is it entirely consumed and gone? Okay.
It is important to give thanks to the sacrifice, for it has given us much to pass through to the other side. As she grabs into a bag, as she pulls out a small rodent, and this will be our journey back. Be sure to have both, one on this side and one on the other.
I understand. Does it always have to be the same?
It is always about aligning oneself to death. Your gnosis must be flavored with it, steeped in it. Only then can it find the crack we have created with this little death, and be allowed to expand to create a rift great enough for us to step through.
The stillness is alien to me, but I only desire to know more, and I thank you for this journey. This first step, anyway. Where do we go?
Let us continue to walk for a little while. The ability to pass through is as difficult as the gauntlet, which is why I decided to take you here. For if it wasn't for that, then it would be much harder to penetrate. There are some exceptions, places strongly associated with death in the minds of those who live there, and the culture will make penetrating the gauntlet easier. From this side, there are also ancient roadways that we can follow that are said to allow us to pass through, but they are filled with trials and tribulations if one does not have the right that we guard.
Do we see other travelers here?
We may, but it is rare, even for us. Owl's brood only travel this way if they must, for it is a dreary place, and it is a place where we do not belong.
I understand. I believe there is something that these ghosts can tell us. I think we do a disservice to not hear them. That is my drive. More than just one ghost, but many, especially the ones that hound us and gather about us, when unseen but still felt.
I agree that it should be worth our trouble to help them when we can, despite my disdain for having to deal too much with two-leg matters. But traveling, we can see them, and some can reach out to us across the second veil. Here it is difficult. Even as blind as my nose is, I can smell the decay with a stillness, and it unnerves me, for it is a constant reminder that we do not belong, and this place should not exist.
It is a tragedy, indeed.
But I'll continue to walk with her.
You guys walk for several hours as you start approaching the nearby city of Fruta. You see groves of trees with rotting fruit upon them, the river dried, the buildings ancient and decaying, it seems like. You see the faces of the living walking everywhere in the streets, driving, the vehicles and the people passing through you, or sometimes lifting you up and throwing you if you do not get out of the way fast enough. You notice that it is difficult to manipulate anything here. Opening doors is damn near impossible at times. And everyone has various scars, rots, wrinkles as you notice the gnawing of time upon their faces. All of them.
Is this the terrible fate that awaits men, knowing that the Umbra will not take them? That this ugliness and end is what they will have and only have?
This is not just for men, no. The world of men has other things. Some do not pass through here at all. Not every human leaves a ghost. No, these ghosts seem to fall under very specific rules. Spirits clinging who have a purpose cut short, though purposes are cut short earlier and earlier. Every day with these people, so many dreams unfulfilled as they constantly march, but at the same time, so many of them lose their hopes and their dreams that even if their life is not unfulfilled, they don't know what could fulfill it, and thus they drift to whatever land Gaia deems fit for their spirit. Come, we must continue north.
Yes, and as they're going,
does the worm not feast upon these desperate souls left here unfinished and filled with desire?
I am told that the worm wraps around the dead's hearts, whispering to them, feeding all of the terrible urges within them. I have heard of the great worm ghosts, the Neverracks, who are bound to ancient beings who have experienced only death and who sit within a grand tapestry that I believe links to the abyss itself.
Is this not a danger that we should fight?
We fight the best we can, but that becomes an internal struggle for many of those who live here. It is just more obvious than the apes on the other side of the veil. Those who continue to live their little lives and feed portions of their soul to the worm every day, running around, giving up some of their autonomy to the Weaver every day for conveniences and things, to continue to buy things because they are told they are things they need, not things that will improve their lives in any way, as they compare themselves to others in their grand packs in the scabs. And they do that, and if they give in enough, it is a door for a Bane to take and create a Fomori. If they don't do it enough, perhaps in their malice, they will create Banes of their own, or at least produce their own little evils as they hurt others for no other purpose than because they are hurt, and they do not know why.
I spit upon the desperation that the Weaver would fill with their hearts. But if only they knew what the penalty was, I don't think it would matter if we told them.
Perhaps. Personally, I think that the Weaver took advantage of our Impergium, and that we either should have never stopped, or we should have never begun. But what we have done now is we've given her ample room to nestle in their hearts.
Who could be surprised that prey would band together for mutual protection from predators? But who would foresee this would be their end?
As you get closer, you see like a little patch of almost forest. Some of the trees look devastated, killed by beetle, or are on their way out, or they seem to be wilting from the summer's heat. As you see the gravestones, as Winds-Fickle-Step goes, inside, we will sit here and we will think. How much do you know of myths regarding our tribe?
I am Foster. I know more than some. I paid attention when the elders spoke. I paid attention when my mother brought me to the great moots of our people and gathered. I know more than some, but certainly never enough. There's always more to hear, more to know. What would you have me speak of, or what would you have me recall?
Tell me the stories of the Nile, and how it carried the souls, or how the Nile carried the bodies of the dead of our tribe when they fought and sacrificed themselves against the battle against the great Set.
I know of it giving life to a region. I know that it flows from south to north in a different way, and that as it brings life and vitality and a cycle to that place, to the valleys, and the farms, and the peoples there, and the animals, and all are brought life, that at the same time its reflection in the Umbra allowed for the passage of the dead, or of our fallen, of spirits, to rejoin the wild, to rejoin Gaia, that as a sacred place. I know of its sacred nature. I know of its life-giving ways, that the people around the Nile depended upon it for animals, for people, for all to enjoy it. It had ample resources for all to use, never to take too much. That the grounds were renewed every year, that the rains allowed its banks to swell, that the spirits received succor because of it, that it was healthy in the Umbra, healthy in the real world, and that as we existed around it in some harmony of life, even if we died, spirits were in balance and passed through. Life continued renewal. The dead, or that which decayed, brought back. And knowing that with Sutek, here, or there, and their decay, their betrayal corrupted that place, corrupted that flow, brought filth, brought contamination, brought stagnation to a point where although those waters flowed, they became a place of conflict, battling over for access, of scarcity, of reach, instead of what it was meant to do, to bring life. I know that Sutek's corruption and treachery brought danger and despair and filth and waste to that place. I know that it no longer could sustain the life around it, that too many became desperate for to feed them, to care for them, as it was more polluted, and more people battled for control, as control and despair and conflict engulfed it, and our people were forced from that land because of it. But that is all I know, as I have never set foot in that place, and I do not know it beneath my own 2 feet.
None of us have. It is why we've been shunned from it. The Nile is that, but the Nile is also associated with death. The stories of Osiris and the ancient creatures that walk this earth that he created have strong ties to Duat, where we walk now. We must keep those in mind, and we must keep the stories close, for those are the stories that help us reach out. You are right in focusing on the rebirth, but the rebirth is simply because that is part of this, of leaving. As you hear Mists of the Forgotten, it is true, and I feel the dullness of this place. It dulls even your senses. I suggest we go and grab much food, much indulgence, see and gaze upon the people. Are you prepared? As she pulls out the little the little rodent.
I am, Honored One, and I believe the spirit within me. Our kin is also ready for a revel versus this place of death.
She shifts her finger into Krynos and she cuts it open as she finds a patch of dirt and mixes it with the blood in the entrails and does the same sort of painting. As you hear her talking about the rebirth, the vitalizing stream, the creation found in the rot. And this goes on for about 10 or so minutes. And it takes you both about 30 seconds to pass through as you're on the physical side of the gauntlet once again.
And we had moved quite a distance, so we're like looking now at that. We're looking at the physical reflection of kind of a healthy-ish growth area versus what we saw. Okay.
Yep, you see a couple trees that do have beetle kill, but it's not nearly as destructive as you saw. There's very little wilting even, though it is a hot day, well in the 90s.
This is so stark to me. I could imagine looking at this place from the Umbra and seeing the threads of weaver amongst the wild, but not just pure ending rot and darkness.
Yes, as you once again hear Mist of the Forgotten, it is time. Let us eat. Let us find food, brother. Though his voice is not as loud as you would worry about, he is kind of pushing you and you feel distracted.
There's been much to take in and much to learn. Perhaps we shall eat and sit and rest. You have opened my eyes to much, and I know there is still much for me to understand.
You eat here. That'll be fine. I will go and find something of my own to eat, for I do not like the ape food. I prefer to make sure I capture my own, even if here it is tainted by this scab.
Very well.
Luckily, you've got a few bucks scrounged up as you go to a small local diner and start eating. The sounds and feelings of joy and ecstasy seem to radiate through you as you are truly enjoying the food.
Yeah, Zeb will order it with the farmer's breakfast or whatever that it's some cliche item that at least speaks to his Hamid nature there. Absolutely.
Yep. As you get your 6 eggs, hash browns, several slices of bacon.
That's right. Yeah.
Pork sausage links, and a black cup of coffee.
Indeed.
As the spirit continues to whisper to you, telling you that it is good to think of death and to think of it as a necessity, but the thoughts of the Rite disturb it, for it is the thoughts of true endings rather than the necessary ending of one thing to begin another.
And you have brought to my mind a concern that I have. For you, the end of death, yes, I agree, and I must study this to protect you and our kin from what you saw a vision of, those that would wield this. And so, yes, I focus more on I am glad to give you this piece of life here and enjoyment. Understand, too, unfortunately, the other part of our guru nature is great sacrifice and work and toil as I learn this, and unfortunately deny myself many things that you know so well and desire so much too. But I have to do this. I couldn't let you down or our other kin down, knowing that such dangers exist.
I understand. And so your training begins in earnest. Hours upon hours of reciting the litanies of death myths of the Silent Striders. But as you try and prepare for the rite and try and practice it, there is a recoil from Mists of the Forgotten as you once again get visions, as you find yourself in a sterilized room. The area is decayed except when the door opens. The blurry face of whatever is there, as you simply hear, "I will see you now." As it shuts off for just a moment. You then keep trying, but as the weeks drag on, it's just hard to concentrate, and at this point, you notice that Winds-Fickle-Step is starting to grow irritated, and after the 3-week mark, gaining no successes on your learning roll, you hear her finally burst out. Do you wish to learn my rites? For your mind always seems to wander. It walks further than the striders do when hounded by ghosts. I have spent my time here, unmoving, noticing the steps of those across the veil trying to get our attention. But still you tarry in something. Clear your mind and find some way to learn, Zeb.
Winds-Fickle-Step, Rhea, Yes, Adrian. Yes, I am distracted. I've told you of the vision that torments me, of a room that death fears. I know what Mists of the Forgotten fears too, and this vision is brought to me over and over again. It is a personal errand that I took this on, and it makes me a poor student. The time draws near for my friend to depart, and perhaps he should, so I can focus on this instead better. I beg your forgiveness, but please understand that it was in earnest and honesty that I desired to learn this as much as I sought to shelter our kin from a danger that was revealed. I will deal with him first and say goodbye, and make sure that I am a better student to you in the time that we have left.
You spend a willpower then, as you relearn, as you are able to continue on, as you show your dedication, as Winds-Fickle-Step demands that you then, to prove your worth, fast in the hot sun over where the hidden Karen was, shirt off, nothing protecting you. Let the sun burn you and sit there for but the whole day so that your distractions will be burned away.
Very well.
And that is what you do. As Winds-Fickle-Step coming to you the next day goes, you've proven yourself. And you hear Mists of the Forgotten. And I will be leaving you shortly. Kin.
Anytime you need help, kin, you may seek me out, and you shall have it. It was a good friendship, and time well spent with you, kin. You have reminded me of life, too.
I understand. Well, breathe in with me in your lungs, and breathe out, and I shall depart.
Now take in that one deep breath, Keegan, and send him on his way, or send them on their way.
As you blow out, they begin to leave, as you see the mists echoing out, and the spirit descends as you see it open up the second veil and pass through into this next world. I cannot stay here. Will you journey with me?
Of course.
Do you have water, supplies?
I do.
Good. The road is unforgiving, and we cross much desert, much like our ancestral home. As we go from Karen to Karen, I will teach you as much as I can during the journey.
I'm honored. Thank you, Adrian.
And so you begin to move, traveling for days. It is just rough. The street is hot. The sun is scorching. The bits of water that you've brought with yourself is lukewarm to barely boiled, it feels like, as it just radiates and strikes you with unyielding intensity.
Can I tell where we're headed?
You're heading southwest.
Are we here for the journey, or is there a place that we must go?
It's a little of both. I am required to go to a Karen. I wish to spread news and learn a little bit, or as much as I can. And we'll be traveling quite close to Grand Canyon National Park.
Which Cairn do we head to?
We will be heading to the Sept of the Spider's Wisdom, ancient Cairn, controlled by older brother.
I heard talk of a cairn this way, or to the south, where recently an elder of older brother was killed for tending to a bane. Is this near that place?
It is not that one, though I have heard that story as well. No, we head to Canyon de Chelly National Monument, and theirs was closer to Texas. You travel for several weeks, about 3 weeks as you get 2 successes on your ritual roll, as you're starting to finally get it, and she nods. As you enter the Caring Grounds, you are greeted by members of Older Brother. "Hail," calls one.
Hail, honored members of Older Brother. I am Speaks-in-Sweet-Whispers. I travel here as a student to this honored theurge.
I am Crimson Tower, gatekeeper of the Sept of the Spider's Wisdom. You have news, then?
We do, of some, but again, the Adrian here can speak first, for she has more pressing news I know. I can tell of more of the places that I have traveled to.
We have heard of your slain elder, and we wish to send our deepest condolences, for we don't believe the Fury was justified in her actions. Though the rage makes us act harshly, I hope you forgive us in our transgressions to you, great child of Older Brother. I have also heard tale that the Red Talons hunt in the north again, and I have also heard that members of your own tribe begin to speak of a grand moot to speak about petitioning the nation for past wrongs. If you wish, we will carry the word to other Karens to let them know of your convictions. Crimson Tower nods and goes, "We do. We will be talking to this so-called Gaian king to see if he is as regal and as fair as the legends and the youth striders claim he is. We hear he runs with one of younger brother, which intrigues us. We also hear that he runs with a Pegasus bitch. But it seems that a war party is getting ready. Let it be known that Malcolm Wormherder has begun gathering other members of Older Brother to take back a fallen Karen. He says one that has fallen to decay and corruption. He will do this and prove Uktena's conviction to the nation and to protecting the Karens regardless of what the other tribes think."
If I may, I know Malcolm Wormherder. I have fought alongside, although he is a strong and powerful guru, and I am merely a foster. I know him. Where would he go? Where does he plan to take this party?
Well, he is working with several members of another sept, and I believe we haven't heard too much, only that he is gathering warriors from Older Brother. But it is good. He is surprisingly powerful and versatile for a mule.
I saw him and others of Older Brother defeat a tainted and warped spirit of a stag that would have attacked our cairn, brought down quickly by them, and most fortunately, we are indeed lucky, we are indeed fortunate to have him as a powerful ally and warrior among us. I will be interested to spread that word too, and let others know that he is bringing the fight to the worm.
Good. Spread it out as far as you can. Though we have grown weary of Unicorn's tribe. Word has it that Unicorn would choose to subjugate Older Brother, and we wish to have little to do with them until they mend their ways.
I know only of the activities that have taken place at Sacred Stone as the children of Gaia work for what they call unity. Again, I speak only as a messenger, as I know little of their politics or strategy.
Yes, the betrayal of the Sacred Stone. One that was supposed to be the handing off and the combination of Older Brother and Unicorn rule, only to have a single elder who rules with an iron fist and who keeps power through trickery. As he gets his subordinates in line, he gives them laurels and love so that they will fawn over him, and with his other hand he drives a fanged dagger and clave into the backs of Older Brother, who have fought and bled for their ancestral home, so that their blood can water the plant of his unity. We have heard of other instances where they send their peacekeepers and they spend too much time being neutral as if both sides are equal, when in fact we were attacked and we demand more satisfaction. Our tribe is not as powerful as it once was, and we cannot hold the Pure Lands as we once could. That much is certain. But that they look at us with fear, for we decide to tread where they fear to, and we bring back great rights and strength where they fear to. We are the binders of the Storm Eater, and still we are treated as lesser.
I will bring the word as I carry it. I have seen some of this struggle, and I can only say that I do know what it is like to have my home taken from me. More than just a story, but truthfully from my claws, and that death would be a mercy. Versus that pain of knowing it was wrested away, I can only imagine the idea of diplomacy being that alternative versus something taken in battle. I will bring word back, but I have witnessed some of this struggle already, as certainly those of older brother at that cairn have much to say, but I am not privy to the talk of elders. I only can feel the tension and know that things change.
And so you continue on your lessons as you're allowed here. You're allowed to continue your training. And as time continues, you begin telling more and more, stories. And learning more and more. As it's been another couple of weeks, you are moving around in Wyoming when you hear the tragedy that Teresa Fate Dancer's cousin was turned into a leech and she was forced to rend him with her own claws.
I don't know much about politics, Winds-Fickle-Step, Rhea. I find myself grieving for what older and younger brother lost. I know that middle brother was one of the only people to take our people in when we were cast from our lands by Sutek. And I'll spit when I say their name. I have friends with good hearts who think that their notion of unity means something and works, but I fear that there is a danger here with older brother becoming very angry and a struggle to ensue. I will carry their message, of course, of Malcolm Wormherder, but do we say anything else? Or as a good messenger, do we only hear exactly what was to be told and keep our thoughts to ourselves?
I think wisdom is sharing the messages you believe must be shared. If you knew a message was going to start a war between two Karens, you do not carry it. We are too far and too few.
I worry that battle for Malcolm Wormherder, won't be for a fallen Karen, but for one that he knows should have been his by right through his father, and that he would fight for one from another tribe. And while I know that is in line with the litany for a stronger tribe to make sure that those places of Gaia are protected and held, I worry what that could mean with the people that would align themselves to him, knowing he is a powerful warrior.
Powerful warrior and mighty Thurge, from everything I've heard. Oh, I also heard from the last Cairn we were at that Fate Dancer was not the only one to lose a loved one.
Whom else?
Final days. His wife was changed into a leech as well, and he, along with Fate Dancer, were forced to murder their own loved ones.
You shock me. I have friends that would be there now. I feel that there's something more to this with the ghost there that was manipulating folks there. Suddenly leeches from nowhere, where we knew there were some there in vicinity, but to be a threat both to the kin of two powerful werewolves, that I am truly shocked, and I grieve for them. I grieve for them in the loss of their kin, of course. A terrible and tragic story, but I do not believe this, having encountered one of the leeches in that place, and the balance they looked to maintain, and fought other leeches to make sure that these types of things did not happen. There were war parties sent out to kill leeches there to make sure that the kin of our people were protected and saved, because we knew that some of them had been targeted by leeches before. I am shocked that the kin now of two powerful werewolves in that cairn who were at odds would now suffer such loss. There's something more to this than just a transformation. That is under their noses of someone so vigilant and so strong. It shocks me. And again, I know I ask more questions like a Ragabash versus looking to wisdom, but there's something extremely troubling here. I think there is more to this.
Something is causing this to brew, yes. It is concerning. And the rumors I hear and the whispers of spirits that I've heard, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. It, in some ways, reminds me of your vision that you spoke to me nearly a month ago.
How so? That something is reaching out, knowing that it can find us and hurt us?
No. You were at the Sept of the Winterfang, correct?
I was.
I spoke with a falcon spirit, and it said that it saw Faces the Storm in the penumbra, clave in hand, battling Banes.
This is true. He did, knowingly, charge into battle and fought.
No. I'm sorry, I was being unclear. Recently.
Does a powerful elder become an ancestor spirit capable of such things?
I have heard, but you suspected him to be a ghost, I thought.
I did, and I maintain that, but I saw only the form of a wolf, his form. I did not think he could also keep the form of his fighting body.
I don't know. But it is time to test your knowledge. If you succeed, then your tutelage is done, and I suggest you seek the sacred stone. Seek answers.
I'm ready for the test, Honored Theurge.
And she leans down, grabbing a prairie dog as it struggles in her hand, and she hands it to you, taking a perfect blade of iron and placing it in your hands.
All right, I will go to, cut it in the ritual way to kill it.
Thank you for opening the way, for showing us what must be seen, for taking us to a place where we do not belong, but where wisdom is there, for giving your life for this path.
And I'll, trace out the symbols in blood or in the chant.
As you do that, as you mix the blood with the sand and the dirt, you do the chant. And now roll Gnosis, difficulty 5, as you are in the unspoiled wilderness.
Ah, yes, thank goodness.
And so you pass through, and you have learned. It'll take some time. There are not a lot of moon bridges, but luckily you're close enough. And if you decide to swallow your pride and hitchhike, you could get back to Colorado Springs in a day. A long day, but a day.
Very well. I thank you for these many weeks. This was a valuable memory and time spent. You are a patient teacher, Winds-Fickle-Step. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb. Avoid the mountains. The snows are growing deep up there, and the weather is unpredictable. Stay to the east. That is your best chance for getting to your friends as swiftly as possible.
I shall. May Owl guide you.
May his wings carry you silently to your purpose and your dreams. And with that, we will see you next time. Thank you to everyone who listened. We'll catch you in that next episode. Bye.
Bye.